Welcome to the Becoming Sound podcast, where we dive into the tough stuff and try to find the humor in the hot mess of being an adult child. Join me as we peel back the layers on growing up in dysfunction, navigating substance abuse, mental health challenges, and everything in between. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Becoming Sound podcast. I'm Krista, your host, and I am so glad that you joined me today. If you are new here, welcome. Don't forget to click the follow button. And I'd be so grateful if you shared with a friend or gave me a rating review. It helps so much in moving the podcast forward, and I truly appreciate you. I am happy to have a wonderful lady named Tami Lysher on the show today. She is an educator, a movement specialist, and nervous system integration coach. She has over 40 years experience in early childhood education and is the founder and owner of Studio T Pilates in Michigan. She's the creator of Move Into Calm. It's a program that blends movement, breath, and trauma-sensitive practices. Tami is also a certified nervous system integration facilitator. She teaches Pilates at the college level, and her work really sits right at the intersection of movement and healing. Not just do a stretch and feel good, but really understanding how trauma lives in the body and the nervous system, and how bringing movement, breath, and awareness can invite regulation and resilience and agency and calm to our nervous systems and our bodies. And that is a game changer. This lady is all heart for what she does, and the passion she has for supporting people shows in how she talks about it. And it's really inspiring. So join me and stay till the end for all of the juicy bits with this beautiful soul. Welcome, Tami. I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Krista. I appreciate it.
So you do a lot of great things in the trauma-informed area, and we're going to talk about all of them. But I kind of want you to just start with what led you into trauma-informed, like movement work.
Okay. It actually started a long time ago. I worked in the field of early childhood for a really long time. And I was working with young mothers. So we're talking like 15 to 18, 14 moms who had came to, it was like a residential program. And the program that I worked for, we provided childcare for them. And it was during the initial pieces of it where I saw behaviors in the young children first, like where they were having developmental delays, and there was issues with their speech, and their behavior was was another whole story. And then I started really looking at like the parents and understanding that poverty in itself is a trauma. And so when there's been, and for many of these girls, it was generational poverty. And so you've got generational trauma to go along with it. But I began to recognize like there were things in these girls that, I had gone through I'm not a teen mom, but my mom was a teen when she had me.
Right.
And I think that the trauma-informed work began at that point. So we're talking like 25 years ago. And then it really took form because I created a curriculum called Trauma-Informed Movement that I did at the beginning of COVID, because I own a Pilates studio and I have for 8 years. And so right at the cusp when I quit my full-time job to do this, COVID hit. So I had to take everything online. And that's when I wrote the curriculum. And for a long time, when I say people, I guess I should rephrase that. Movement educators, and what I reference that by are Pilates and yoga teachers, were saying I was out of my scope when I was talking about the impact of trauma. I was not coming from a counseling background. I was how does it impact us, and how does it impact the people that you and I work with, like on us as well? And so it was really very interesting when I look back on that piece of what I did, because I spoke with women, one man, but mostly women all over the country and across, South Africa, the Netherlands, France. It's been a long time. A lot of women like along the East Coast. For whatever reason, the East Coast happened to be like an area that I did a lot of. that I did a lot of the work with, and it's really
Yeah.
interesting to see where they've taken the work. And then both of them were a couple of them were Pilates instructors and things like that. So I think that the trauma informed piece for me has been evolving.
Hmm.
Um, Along with that, simultaneously, I worked with children and I taught children's yoga for a very long time. And so,
Mm.
Move into Calm, which is the name of my children's program, actually they kind of all evolved together. But the formation of the children's program actually took off in the fall of 24. So it's still
Mhm.
relatively new, but I've created a framework that I work with when I do work with adults, and I use it across the board. So,
Yeah.
um,
Can I ask you about the teaching the kids yoga and having kind of a not just lived experience, but being informed about how trauma shows up in the body? Did you see a lot of that in the yoga
oh
class with
yeah,
the kids?
because
Yeah.
I was teaching the yoga actually in the center where I was like when I first
Mhm.
and, like, the behaviors that the children displayed were things that a normal child might not necessarily see. Like, I'm gonna try and tell you this without getting too, like, because it was like a really eye-opening experience for me. So this little
Right.
boy was probably about maybe let's just say 3. And I was sitting in a group, so I was sitting, like, in a circle, and he came up and he jumped on my back and started doing things that a 3-year-old should not know what to do.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, um,
Yeah.
he had observed adults having sex, and
Yeah.
it was really very, very profound for me because he did and the other thing was is he was 3, but he didn't have language to describe. And there's always a saying that I use, and there's behavior is communication.
Yeah.
And when you look at those kind of things, so that with that particular child, that was, like I said, a long time ago. I also saw kids that would be really super, um, I would say clingy to me. So that's an attachment issue that goes right
Okay.
along where, so if there's not a good attachment between a mom or even a grandparent, the children seek out those kind of things. And like just becoming like they're overly like they want to be affectionate with you and things that a
Yeah.
normal child that has a normal attachment to an adult doesn't do. um
Yeah. They're like craving it, you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
I think that people, and I'm going to speak more from an educator standpoint because I see a lot of kids still, and I like that's that are in the school systems, and the school systems are turning their heads to like finding another way, meaning like looking at it through the nervous system lens. And I can talk more about that in a second. But it's
Mhm.
like they're just, they're still wanting to offer punitive um like measures for the kids.
Consequences.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm. Yeah, this is so interesting to me because we don't talk about it a lot, and I think the school system is slowly
yeah,
evolving. It's slowly evolving, but it's not fast enough. For me, when you see this, right, when you're
yeah.
seeing it, it's so interesting how they don't have language for it, but their language and their memories and their experiences built into their tissues.
Yes, exactly.
And it's coming out. They just don't have the words like we do.
Yeah.
But they have that language is there if we listen,
Hmm.
really tune in and pay attention.
Hmm. Yeah. Or just even in their play. Um,
Yes.
it's really interesting. So I observed a little girl, and she was 18 months old, and this was
Hmm.
at the time when there were flip phones. And so this little girl was talking like she didn't have language, but she had the vocal intonation, like you could hear her. And then the next thing I know, she slapped that phone shut and threw it across the room.
Oh, wow.
And it was such a powerful, um, it was just such a powerful observation that I made of this child, and the fact that here she is 18 months old and she's having behavioral problems in the classroom that
Hmm.
are not always um, like a lot of 18 months old, they just want to play, but hers was more
Yeah.
hurtful to the other kids. So, yeah,
So obvious. I mean, she's storing all of that stuff
exactly.
inside her body
So
and it's
she had
coming
seen her,
out.
and I asked her mom, and I said, "Have you like had a conversation and threw your phone across the room?" "Oh yeah, Miss Tammy, I have." And I'm like, "Did you know that your daughter did the same thing?" I mean, it was just so. I think that through the years of all the work that I've done, both with parents and children and teachers, and now even with youth, and I'll talk about that in a second, but it's like just watching how it impacts us from, how we move in our body, how we store those memories. How
Mhm.
does it show up? Like, what does it do? For young children, sometimes it can be developmental delays. It could be
Mhm.
speech, it could be lack of motor skills, and that's really where I, have always had such a huge interest is the motor skills. And motor because speech is a fine motor skill and then
Right.
gross motor, and so putting it all together, and so when I did my master's in early childhood in, oh my gosh, 2005, I wrote my
Yeah.
dissertation on like developmental delays, and that's what I focused on. So,
Mhm.
and since then, I'm actually back in college right now as we speak, Krista.
Good for you.
And it is on applied education and neuroscience. And the focus of it is trauma, adversity, and the nervous system. So,
Mhm.
and I'm definitely using what I'm learning. And a lot
Yeah.
of it, I was afraid that going into it that I would not learn anything new. And it's been, sometimes I have to dig, like I have to really think about and ponder
Mhm.
things. So,
Yeah.
but
I just a thought just come over me as I listen to you speak about all of this, not just lived experience, but gain knowledge and stuff on how to work with kids and stuff. There should be an educator like you in every single school
oh God.
who does classes with children who might be at risk. Honestly, I mean, if you are an education board member and you make decisions, please hear me when I say our schools need this so badly. The teachers in each classroom cannot handle the loads already. How are they supposed to deal with kids that need this specialized attention? And people who are informed and educated on this, there should be a teacher or two teachers in every school where they get to work with these kids daily. Like that would make such a huge difference in their lives. Okay, sorry for the interruption, but I have to tell you about an amazing opportunity. If you have ever thought I should probably learn how to protect myself, this would be your sign. My friend Alicia Yubera is launching 21 Days to Unbreakable. It's a 21-day self-defense and confidence training created specifically for women. This isn't about fear. It's about embodied confidence. It's about trusting your instincts and knowing that you can handle yourself. You'll get short video lessons, a guided workbook, practice drills, and community support, all from the comfort of your own home. Enrollment opens on March 2nd. You can use the code Becoming Sound 2026 for $50 off. Highly recommend. The link will be in the show notes.
So the program that I'm working, or the program, I guess I should say, there's a lady named Dr. Lori Desatel, and this is exactly what she talks about. And she's
Mhm.
taking her message and she's taking it to school districts literally all over the world. And like I started following her like probably in the fall of 24, and I enrolled in her class in June of last year. And so I
Mhm.
followed her for a full year. I bought her textbook. I mean, it's a framework that looks at the adult nervous system first.
Yep.
It looks at the language behind like what is our sensations and our language, and maybe if I'm jumping ahead, tell me to stop because I will if you want.
No, no, that's just fine. And I'm going to get her name after and put it in the show notes for
Okay.
everyone
Yeah.
so they can look her up.
Yeah, but it's and then so and it looks at like she does what's called she calls them focused attention practices for both the teachers and for the children. But it's
Mhm.
really looking at like, and she says this, and I love how she says it, is it has to start with us. It has
Yes.
to start with us as parents, as educators, as grandparents. If you are working with children, in my opinion, this should be a must for everybody. So if you're a bus driver, a custodian,
Mhm.
even a cafeteria person or a social worker, and more people are joining her cohort. So I am number 10 cohort.
Wow.
So that means she's had 9 others before me, and she's enrolling for cohort number 11 right now as we speak. And it's been
That's amazing.
probably one of the best decisions I ever made for myself. And I felt like I need to, like, for me personally, it was the families. I mean, I know a lot of teachers still in the education system, even though I'm not working in education per se. I know a lot of teachers, and people are like, I'm going to call it lurking. So like they look and they're like, what is she doing now? Because there's foundational things that I use, like teaching. Because when a child has
Mhm.
gone through trauma or an adult's gone through trauma, one of the first things that happens, Krista, is our breath becomes impaired. We breathe
Yes,
shallow, and there's just a multitude of things that can happen. But it's not just. I mean, the nervous system is just such a big piece of it. So
it is. Yeah. And when you said breath work, just the fact that you could teach kids simple breath work to move through their
yes,
feelings
can I
and to move through their
can I reach
experiences.
and can I reach and get something? I want to show you.
Yeah. Yeah. Please do. Please do.
Okay, I'm going to scoot back just a little so you can see this. This is called a Hoberman spear, and
Yes.
using it with kids to teach them like expanding. I'll hold it down. So it like to
Yeah.
expand, and then as you exhale.
Yes. I
So
love that.
this has been something that I've used a lot with children over the years, and I didn't just start using the Hoberman spear. I've used it a lot. So
Yeah. And it's called a Hoberman spear.
it's HO
Sphere.
is
Okay.
spear, SPHERE.
Yeah. Okay. So because those people that are listening, they're not going to be able to see that, but you can definitely go on YouTube and see it. I
I
have seen
actually,
those even at the dollar store. I have seen these. So they're
um,
not expensive. And it's a little ball with a bunch of uh kind of corners and edges, and you
yeah,
pull it apart, it expands,
yeah.
and you push it back together, it goes back in. So if you're listening, that's kind of what it looks like. But
Oh,
I can link something in for a picture or something if they
if
want
they
to in the
go,
show notes.
if they go to my YouTube channel, I actually
Okay.
use one in a short video. Um, I actually use the Hoberman spear to demonstrate. Um, I have used the Hoberman spear with, I can't tell you how many children. I mean, I've
Yeah.
been using it literally for years, like
Yeah.
many years.
It's beautiful.
You can also purchase them on like Amazon.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they're very easy to find,
yeah.
and I will link that video of you use. I wanted to ask you just a little bit for the audience too. So, for someone who's never really thought about how trauma is stored in the body, I mean, they may have felt it, but they aren't making the correlation. How does it actually show up in the body? What are some of the signs and symptoms?
Okay. Cancer can be one.
Mm,
And
yeah.
it's very interesting because, I had breast cancer. This year, it will be 20 years. And when I first had it, I knew I was healthy. And I've always been healthy. I've always taken care of my body. But yet, growing up in childhood trauma, being married to my ex-husband who had addiction and other things, he never hurt me, but it was the emotional trauma.
Yes.
That and so it was at that point that I really seriously began looking at, like, what else happens to you? Like, just even something as far as, like, other illnesses, lung disease, heart disease. These are all
Mhm.
things that they can link back to it, and there's so many studies now that show that autoimmune disorders,
Yes.
gut inflammation can be another one. Pelvic floor. I mean, there's a multitude of things. And I'm not a doctor and I'm not saying, but if you think about what you have as an adult, let's say you have autoimmune disorders and you grew up in a traumatic or maybe you had a traumatic event at home or as a child, and you start looking at the correlations between all of it. Um, there is a book, it's called The Body Keeps Score, and
Yes.
it's a hard read. It really truly is. But there's
Yes.
another book that has been published a little bit more frequently, and it's called When the Body Says No by Dr.
Okay,
Gabor.
I've heard of it.
Yep. He talks about it a lot. And because I mean, he was a doctor. I mean, he is a doctor, but he worked with people for a long time who had like addiction and other things, and they were homeless in the
Mhm.
streets. And so he's taken his knowledge and has really made it his mission to talk about how trauma impacts us. He's got some free, like just, I'm going to just say that he's got a ton of free like videos that you could watch
Okay.
on YouTube as well. And so he talks about all of these things that I just said. But like even something as simple as like holding tension
Mhm.
in your shoulders or down your back. And because I'm going to
Yeah.
share this is actually something that I have to be very conscious about. So years ago, I would say to you, I thought I had like a toothache because I would clench my jaw.
Clenched.
I would
Yeah.
clench, and our vagus nerve runs under our chin and then down. So it's two strands. So it's
Mhm.
anything where then there's lots of nerves that are in our face. And when
Mhm.
you think about like it can impact your voice, it can impact the choices that we make or decisions that we make, but it's all kinds of stuff. So people who have, like I had issues with my throat and with my jaw. And so recently, like we're talking this week, I just started having this like just a nagging ache.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, what's going on? And I already know because I've had a little bit of extra stress, but it's not stress that I can't handle, but it's like, all right, I
Right.
guess I have to go back and I have to start using like just even taking your finger and finding the jaw, but where
Mhm.
the mandolin, the jawbone, and
Yep.
opening really wide and making
Mhm.
different sounds. The other person that I would also talk about and I think is really important is Dr. Peter Levine has done a ton of work on
Mhm.
helping people process the the trauma out of their bodies.
Mhm.
So, in
Yeah.
somatic work, I use the term body-based work because sometimes people don't know what somatic. Soma means body, but some people don't
Yeah.
know what that. I mean, yeah, you know,
I know, and I mean, it's becoming a little bit more of a word in social media, but it's still unknown.
yeah,
People don't
it is.
relate that
It,
soma means body, but yeah, body work is it's kind of universal.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
just think that it's important to understand that teaching people breath work, if they're not ready to do it, it can be re-triggering for them.
yes.
Um,
I have heard that,
yeah.
and I understand it. Yeah,
Yeah, it can be. It can be. I think that when we begin to look at like and I'm not being critical of my family, my ex-husband, or my father. It's just
hmm
that's how I grew up. And that was how my body took in
hmm
the stress, and I began to move and work in what I'm going to call survival mode, which to me was caretaking for my whole family and doing all these things. But it definitely had an impact on my voice because I didn't speak up and I didn't advocate for myself
hmm
and I kept
hmm
quiet and I didn't talk about it. And so
yeah.
for me
All
to
of those things are so relatable,
yeah, and so for me
not just to me, but I'm sure to so many
Yeah,
people.
and I think that, like, for me personally, it's like when I have gotten to the point where I can do what I'm doing now and actually talk about it and not have my voice squeak and, like, even things other sensations, like, how does your body feel when you're under stress? And
hmm
I teach a Pilates class at our local community college, and I have let's just say from 15 to 25 and talking about the stress and how Pilates and movement can help you. But they have to understand how does stress feel in your body? And so we
Yeah.
talk about it and we talk about those kind of things. And I think it's like even the the things that we don't even think about, like our eyes dilate in our eyes, and we
Mhm.
become like, clenching, and a dry mouth, or their muscles become tight and tense. Um,
Yeah.
and they don't really
So
understand
much.
what does it feel like to not have your shoulders like earrings. It's like
Yeah.
learning and understanding. Yes, but I think that so oftentimes people just say it's stress, but yet there's so many things that we can begin to like. And I'm not everybody's each their own on their journey, but for me, healing really began when I started doing nervous system work.
Mhm.
And I've been doing it probably 6 or 7 years, and for before that, I went to talk therapy, and I went to yoga, but for me personally, it was hard for me to meditate in the beginning, and
Mhm.
I've been involved in yoga for more than 30 years, a long time, but it was hard. It was really hard, and I couldn't understand where it came from. And I've done breathing workshops, and one breathing workshop, this was just like a couple years ago, that I still struggled with different kinds of breath.
Mhm.
So, and I think
Yeah, I
it's an ongoing journey. And I think that
yes.
when I look at how so I'm not only living it in my own body, but I went
Mhm.
and did a year-long study with, her name is Chantel Lopez and Ann Bishop. And Chantel specializes in the nervous system, and she's actually done work with Dr. Stephen Porges. So I became certified through her first. And she now has a program called, I think it's called Nervous System Works, is what I think she's calling it now. But,
Mhm.
anyways, from there, I found Dr. Desatel and how she was integrating in it. For me, the pull to learn more about the nervous system from somebody else in the educational schools, like in the educational realm, but how does it show up in our kids? I mean, I knew, and I guess to me, it was just also a matter of understanding that their behaviors, it's an outward cry for help for so many of our kids. And most of the kids that I work with, Krista, are
Mhm.
like have sensory issues, they're ADHD, uh,
Yeah.
neurodivergent children. And I've seen it, like little kids,
Yeah.
and their bodies are as hard as a rock.
Mm.
And it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, I honestly think that even as adults, and this sounds, and everyone's on their own journey, and I get that, but so many adults are crying out. Their bodies are crying out.
Yeah.
And there are all these signals that we just keep ignoring. And I think one of the biggest things that I learned in how to reconnect with my body and really start to process my nervous system deregulate, like how I wasn't regulating, and process those emotions and make that connection was to slow down.
Oh,
And the awareness came when I could slow down and breathe for a moment.
yes.
And I think I was very hypervigilant. I was very much in survival mode most of my life. So much of what you said, I'm just nodding like, check, check, check. And I think that there's something we're not talking about enough, and that is that I had a guest on recently that said, your heart has a brain.
Oh, yeah.
I think our whole body is our brain.
Yes.
And we walking around with the head and the body as two separate entities and not understanding that everything that we're filtering through and thinking about and all of our brain processes are actually connected directly to our body. So our brain is not just this thing inside our skull. It flows through us in every cell, and we forget about that. And if we really paid attention to and started to become aware of that's actually what's happening, you could make the correlation between all of those things that you said show up
Mhm.
in the body, the disease processes, all of that. It's so important to be talking about that kind of stuff. And I love how you are putting that stuff out there and incorporating it into the movement stuff that you do to try and help people make that connection, right?
There's one thing I just recently, I've had it out since probably September. But and this is, I want to just say this when I talk about it, because it can be applied to adults and children alike. So
Mhm.
it is called Move into Calm, and it's a 21-day course
Okay.
that like has first I talk about, and there's 42 videos in it that I've created, Krista, that look
Wow.
at like, first of all, what is the nervous system and what it is. And I go through like little brief understandings of the polyvagal theory. And that sounds really big, but what exactly is it? Anyways, then that's followed by a move section. And the move section might be something simple like breathing. It might be something simple as standing and twisting, or understanding that you have to listen to your body. And I'm here to model some of these, like just even side bending, for example, but how deep you go in those side bends and how different that you do things is so important. And because we've gone through the dysregulation of our own nervous system, we have not been given, like when I say it like that, we don't listen to our bodies. It's almost like you were talking about that disconnect, and we don't listen to our bodies. And when you begin to slow down, breathe, drink some water, and just sit, put your feet on the floor, feel the grass so you're grounded underneath of you, and begin to do those things. So the course is both for parents to use with their children, but I have people buying it that are like, they're adults or they're teachers, and they're
Yeah.
using it for themselves first, because we as adults lead the way in showing children how to regulate their nervous systems.
Mhm.
So,
Doesn't it seem like it should be such just basic education?
mhm,
Like it's I love what you're doing, and we will put that link to that 21-day calm program in the show notes. But I want people to understand that this should be taught at such a basic level. And if you didn't get this training in childhood and you're sitting here listening to this episode and you feel like your nervous system could use some support and some help, there is no shame and guilt about what has happened. Just start somewhere. Start with one piece. And that sounds like it could be so useful to anybody.
well, I think before we came on the air, you talked about how nervous system is like the buzzword right now. And I feel that becoming in touch with your body and moving your body in some kind of way, that's not a lot that's being talked about. Or if it is, it's like, I have a grandson. And my
Mhm.
grandson, you know, they do, like brain breaks in school. No, get them up and move them. Let them move. They could stand beside your
Mhm.
desk and do like so many
Yeah.
things. So I'm not watering it down. I'm not watering it down. I feel like it's something that we have to embrace ourselves. And once you begin to embrace it yourself and you begin to make changes in your own nervous system, it has an impact on your family.
Oh, 1,000% it does.
Yeah.
And it can be one little thing,
Mhm,
but the ripple effects of that,
mhm.
of one change that you make within yourself, whether it be your nervous system awareness or whatever your path and your journey is, anything that serves you in a better capacity will have a ripple effect and go down into your relationships, your kids, your all of that.
Yeah.
It's so true. And
Yeah.
I want to say something about when you were talking. Um, it just made me think of something about our nervous system and your grandson. So I have a grandson too, and he's like 15 or 16 months, right? So I watch him and he is never still for very long. And I think that we're trained to think, oh, he's a boy, he's just rambunctious. And if you watch kids, they do this to release energy.
Yeah, they do.
It's the same thing that a dog does when they shake. They are releasing this pent up
Yeah.
energy. We don't do this as adults
No.
because we've stopped playing. We've stopped
Gosh.
jumping and running and all of this stuff that, just to stand up and shake
Mhm.
and connect to your body, huge.
So, Krista, it's funny that you say this, because I just literally put a post out about what happens. We forget to play. We
Yeah.
forget to have fun. And go and sit on the floor with a child. And I don't like just let's just say 10 and under,
Yeah.
and they will guide you. And if you let them
Yeah.
lead, oh my gosh, it is just incredible. And I think
100%.
that the other thing that we are not doing is allowing children to take risks
Yeah.
and letting them run and jump. And you know what? That's how they gain the skills and the confidence to move with their bodies, and they're agile. And so many of the kids that I see that come to
Yes.
me, or I hear parents say, "Oh, don't do that. You might get hurt."
It's how they learn how to trust
I
themselves too.
know. I hear what you're saying, but that has been like, and I've done groups of children's yoga, and this has been since like I've done 600 parents and children. This is recently I've done this, like in the last year.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
we would they broke them up into groups. So they were like 25, 30 parents and children. And
Hmm.
I could see like the parents who are hovering over their children, or they want them to do things specifically. Let them do a down dog, their version of it, not yours, but
Yeah.
their version of it.
Mm,
Or or speaking for them. Let your child, you slow your speech down. Let your child, like,
yes.
and I'm going to say it, put your phone away
Yeah.
or social or screen time with the kids. I just, it's
Yes.
something that I am firmly believe because, you
Yeah.
know, they don't learn how to speak when you've got a phone in front of them. Have a conversation with your child.
Yeah. I could not agree more. It's such a powerful thing too. And when you're talking about that, I'm hearing stop trying to control everything and just let people, children, just let them be.
Yeah.
If we turn that back into ourselves, we can start asking ourselves some questions. Why do I feel the need that I want this to go the way I want it to go?
Mhm.
Why is it that I started asking myself those questions. I had to. When you have a child, my child is in recovery, I had to start looking at me.
Yeah.
And it was one of the most profound things I ever did for my own healing, my own nervous system regulation. Every time I wanted to fix someone, and it wasn't being malicious, it was my need for safety
Yes.
and my need for everything to be
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
And I think that when you talk about parents trying to have this bubble around their kids and control everything they're doing, that is their own nervous system dysregulated in
Exactly.
some capacity.
Yes.
And what they're doing is inviting their child into that space with them. And they're creating something that isn't there, that doesn't need to be there. And we just have to turn that mirror back on ourselves and say, hey, what's going on with me
Sure.
that I feel like I want them to do everything perfectly? I wish that someone would have had this conversation with me when I was a young mom. 100%.
And that's why I said, when we had our conversation, like just before we came on the air, and I said, it's like, to me personally, and these are not my words, and I'm going to quote her. Her name is Dr. Lori Desatel. And Dr. Lori says, we as grandparents, educators, other people, we get to have a do over, meaning
Yes.
we begin to understand. Yeah, we begin to understand and see. And so, even though yes, I have grandchildren, but I want to take this information and work with parents. You you have time. Your kids are not grown yet.
Yeah.
Understanding all of this stuff that we've talked about and how important it truly is.
Yeah. So believe that too. And I think that my kids who are raising kids, my son has children, my daughters eventually, hopefully one day will have children as well. But they have so much more information readily at their fingertips than I did when I was a young mother. We didn't have the internet. I mean, we did, but it wasn't on phones. It wasn't right at your fingertips. We didn't have all this information that I could readily just pull out of the air and think, oh, question myself. But my kids do, and they're going to be raising this next generation with so much more information that's available to them to heal their own stuff so that they don't pass it down to their kids and really get curious, right?
I would 100% agree with you, but the other thing is just don't discount people's life experiences.
Yes.
I mean, you can Google all day long, but until you talk to somebody who's had a lived experience of why the work is so important or understanding,
Okay.
like, or just let's just say that, you have your own traumas. Think about your parents are parenting you or parented you just the way that they were parented. And
Yeah.
20, let's just say 50 years ago, or even
Mhm.
40 years ago, none of this stuff was talked about. And it was
No.
just generational trauma. And it was just generational things that, well, that's the way my mom did it. So just
Yeah.
being cognizant of maybe something doesn't go just right with the grandparents. Tell them, have a conversation with
Yeah.
them. It's
Yeah.
not how you want things done with the grandkids. I don't know. I just think it's really important.
I think it's super important.
I also think that there is, like, if we can minimize the next generation, like just taking our traumas that were passed on to our children and our grandchildren. And there's been studies, lots of studies on intergenerational trauma and how, especially women,
Uh-huh.
carry the eggs of their grandmothers. And that's a whole nother topic that
That's a whole nother episode.
yes, it is. It's just something obviously you can see that I'm really passionate about.
Yeah.
And I think that trauma informed is really important, but also being nervous system informed is so important as well.
Yeah.
Understanding. And there's a lot of
I agree.
materials out there.
Yeah, there's so much, right?
Yeah, there
Yeah.
is. There is. So,
Yeah.
uh,
I have one more question before we wrap up.
okay.
And I think this wraps up all of the beautiful lived wisdom and experience that you have too. Is what does coming home to yourself
Oh
mean to
gosh.
you now?
Oh, that's such a powerful, beautiful question. Um, I think for so long I lived with external validations all around me.
Mhm.
What I looked like, what people perceived of me, and all of these like things that I thought were important.
Mhm.
But in reality, when I finally started feeling and understanding that I had to heal from the inside out.
Mm.
And so befriending my body has been an ongoing process for me. And there are so many times that I have, and I don't want this to sound woo-hooey, but this isn't one example, like making decisions or even saying yes when you really mean no.
Mhm.
Those are the kinds of things that can stifle. We have choices. And if you're people pleasing and you're saying all these things, that's having an impact on you. Listen to your body. What does that tell you? Does it give you a pit in
Mhm.
the bottom of your stomach when you say yes, when you really mean no? Or how does that impact agency? And another word for agency is, how does that affect your self esteem or your self worth? All of these different things. And I think that, like, we have choices that we can make, but when we live in survival, we stifle our own choices. We
Yes.
do. So coming home to me, Krista, means that I feel every emotion. I put Tammy first. And I truly mean that. My workouts, my nervous system practice, those are non-negotiables for me.
Yes.
And
I love it.
and I also would say to you, I this is just me and my practice, but I journal every day, finding gratitude in the little things. Like, I am so grateful that I met you today. I mean,
Oh, me
I'm,
too.
yeah, but I'm just saying that, but it's the little
Yeah.
things that we
Mhm.
like. Let sometimes we overlook. Take time, slow down, smell the roses. Like today, I live in Michigan, and it's been very cold here this year.
Mhm.
And I have a small dog, and he's very full of energy. and he needs to be outside, but the snowbanks have been taller than him, and so he has not had. But I took him outside, and just to watch him run across the snow and see him in that full body stretch when they're
Yeah.
running, when they're running like that, it just brings delight. And and
That's
having
beautiful.
and having conversations with children, or just even somebody that
Yeah.
you've known for a long time, like just finding the joy of
Mhm.
why are we here? And people sometimes say it's woo-woo-y, but it's like looking at, when people are aligned with each other or something feels good, your nervous systems are compatible, you're co-regulating, and it's just, I
Yeah.
mean,
That's beautiful. Thank you for that explanation. I love it. It's
you're
so true. It's so true. Um, where can people find you?
okay. I actually have two websites. So I do have a Pilates studio that I work with adults and children in. So it's studiotpilates.com. The other one is Move Into Calm, and that's where you can find like all of the work that I do with the children. And that's also where they can find the Move Into Calm 21-day course.
Mhm.
And I'm just going to say it is very, very nominally priced because I want people to buy it. I want to make it affordable for everybody. It's
Mhm.
$17. That's all. And right now at this point, I don't have intentions of raising the price on it. I do work privately with children and families, and I work with schools as well. And the other thing that I also have on there is I write blogs twice a month with different kinds of subjects. And even if you join my email list and you don't do anything else, you still can have access to those. And
Yeah.
it's been very interesting because I just launched my website for Move Into Calm since the beginning of the year. And I looked this morning, and there's been over 2,000 people that have hit.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Thank
amazing.
you. Yeah. But I mean,
That's
I don't,
amazing.
I'm just going to say that for people like you're in Canada and here I am in Michigan, and it's like, it's, if you can't utilize the information that Krista and I are talking about, pass on the information to other people.
Exactly. And everyone knows someone in their life who could use this information.
Yeah. And
And thank you so much for pricing that at a price point that people can really afford. And it can be so impactful
yeah.
to join in. And so go to Tammy's website and if you can't use that, I question that, but
Yeah.
I think everyone could use it. But if you know someone who really is in need of something like the 21-day calm, please, it's very affordable
The other,
and so impactful.
the other thing too, I also have a YouTube channel. And on
Yep.
the YouTube channel, I do have I have like maybe 650 subscribers so far, which is not very much. But I have videos on there both for parents and children. I have
Uh-huh.
old podcast episodes because I hosted a podcast for a long time. But I also have Pilates exercises on there that you can do that are free. And I do that on
Okay.
purpose because I want it to be accessible for everybody.
Yes.
You just don't realize how important, even if you're sitting in a chair and moving your arms and your legs,
Mhm.
still is the best that you can do. And just
Yeah.
honor your body with
I
movement.
love it.
Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. And what a great conversation. So impactful. I hope everyone takes something away from this and goes and visits you at your sites and participates. Now, it seems simple, but it can really change your life.
Yeah. Krista, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been a delight to talk with you. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you for joining me today on another episode of Becoming Sound. If this episode resonated with you in some way, please share it with someone you care about. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It helps to get this information out to more people who may need it. If you have a sec, I would love a follow on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. While you're there, hit the 5-star rating and give me a review. When you're scrolling, follow me on my social platforms, and I would love to hear your comments and feedback. Have a fabulous day, lots of love and gratitude from me.
Please note, the views, information, and opinions expressed during the Becoming Sound podcast series are solely those of the individuals involved. The content of this podcast is to educate, inform, and for entertainment purposes only. This podcast series and the content presented does not constitute for medical or other professional advice or services. If you are in crisis or in need of help, please contact your medical or professional provider.